Hey everyone, it's Jack here, TalkNorwichCity. City. Welcome back to another video. I bet you were all hoping that you'd got away with it, that you didn't have to watch me dissect Norwich City 2, Wrexham 3, but you're not that lucky. I've left it just over 24 hours since the crime scene. I was at Great Yarmouth Beer Festival last night, had a wonderful time, bumped into a few of you guys, and I think we tried to keep the the Norwich chatter to a minimum because I think everyone was shell shocked as to what they'd seen. And I had a game of cricket today, lovely afternoon. But once again, saw a few friends, Norwich fans, and unfortunately we did have to discuss what was an absolute horror show of a game. And I can't really recall too many performances at Carrow Road in the last, 5-6 years that were that bad. There's been some poor performances, particularly at the end of the Johannes Torp era. There were some poor performances, more kind of dull showings under David Wagner and obviously Dean Smith in the Premier League. There were some real howlers. But in terms of just pure abjectness, if that is even a word, I'll call it a word, I can't remember too many as bad as that. And look, the scoreline I think is actually fairly kind on us. I think if it wasn't for Vladan Kovacevic, Wrexham could have had 6. And obviously the Norwich second goal came in the 94th minute that was fumbled to the feet of Jovan Makama. This was really poor, and this is concerning. I don't think there's any other way to kind of get around it. Norwich have lost all 4 home games so far. Our points on the board have all come away from home, and that performance against Coventry, although we picked up a point and we were very close to picking up all 3, was concerning. We'd given up 30 odd shots in that game. And for Liam Manning, this is going to be a really tricky few weeks now because booed off against Wrexham, booed off in previous games, and it's a tough run from here. Stoke away, West Brom at home, Ipswich away, Bristol City at home, Derby away, Swansea away. Tough run of games, like really tough. Do you fancy us to go to Stoke and pick up something? Well, maybe actually, because we're seemingly a good team away from home. But West Brom at home, the East Anglian Derby. This feels like a really critical period in this next phase of Norwich City. And for Liam Manning, he will have big questions to ask himself. And I think some of the comments to the press last night after the game were quite revealing. I think he feels let down by some of his players. I think he's given players a chance and he's not been repaid the faith. Let's be brutally honest here. I think you're looking at Ante Cianats, who again was completely and utterly ineffective. Jose Cordoba felt sort of sorry for him, like he's not a left back. I'm not really sure. That was the first decision I think that Liam Manning has made where I've looked at it and just gone, I can't understand what you're seeing here. Even after 45 minutes, Cordoba had been pulled apart in that first half, completely pulled apart by Kabore, and thankfully for him, the end product was poor, but you could see it time and time again. He was getting beaten. He's just completely out of position. And then obviously goal 1, goal 2 in that second half comes from down that side. And Cordoba's not the sole blame here. That centre-back pairing of Jakov Medic and Harry Darling were in absolute no man's land, particularly for the first goal. I mean, that was just an absolute catalogue of errors. So defence was poor across the park. Stacey, got the goal, nice finish, was probably the best of a bad bunch there. The midfield is a real concern. I mean, Kenny McLean was out injured. An historic back problem kept him out of that, I think, was what I read. But without Kenny in the middle of the park, we looked really light. And I think Mirko Topic's really kind of fast start to the season has kind of petered out, along with Papa Amadou Diallo. I thought was pretty one-dimensional yesterday and not great. But that midfield is the concern for me because, well, in every single home game, and actually against Coventry as well, we've been bossed in the middle of the park. I think the Millwall game was the most, well, Millwall and Borough were the most kind of obvious, where we've just been completely overrun, completely bossed in the middle of the park. You've got Jacob Wright, maybe use him. I thought Liam Gibbs was quite effective when he came on. Obviously, Kenny McLean, I think, is the big miss. But that's the concern. And then, again, not creating enough going forwards. I thought Matej Jurisic kind of, took his chance, and it was a nice assist. Sargent was completely isolated. Ante Cianats was really poor and just needs to be dropped for the next game. Really, really ineffective. And that's been disappointing with Cianats, because I think he had a good chance to kind of prove himself yesterday with the injury to Quistgarden. So, yeah, I mean, I look at that team and I think, under Wagner and Johannes, you always had a match winner in there, whether it was Gabi Sara, Borja Sainz. You had someone that could create something, Johnny Rowe. Sargent's obviously a fantastic striker and he can create something, but I'm kind of looking at the rest of that team and I'm going, who's the match winner here? If we're not going to be a great system, if we're not going to be a great, unified team, then where's the match winner? And I don't know if I see one. I don't know if I see someone that can just change a game, rally a side. And that was the real frustration for me, is it looked like they gave up yesterday. 3 goals from Wrexham in 15 minutes after, leading at half time. The way that we just collapsed in that second half was really, really concerning. I mean, they were 3-1 up within 60 minutes. And from that point on, did we have a chance other than the goal? I don't think so. We didn't muster up anything. And look, Wrexham, I didn't think they were great. I didn't think they offered much. And I think that's the other concern is, we've been picked apart by Wrexham. What's a good side going to do to us? I mean, we've seen Borough beat us. We've seen Millwall beat us. They'll be kind of there or thereabouts this season. What's a West Brom? What's a Stoke? What's a Bristol City? All up there, all above us, all, games to come in the next few weeks. So, look, it's a concern, and I think we've seen enough now. I mean, we're only 6 games in. You hope that this is the point where Manning goes, okay, those I've given a chance and have not repaid my faith, I'm going to switch it up. I thought the decision not to bring Kellen Fisher on at left back was peculiar, and it'll be interesting to see the starting 11 now for the trip to Stoke, to see what he does, whether he'll try and rush Mahova back into the fold, or surely you just play Fisher or Stacey on that left side. And that defence yesterday was, I think it was the first time I've looked at that defence and gone, oof, that's really not ideal. So I must say, I'm a little bit concerned, and I think Liam Manning will be looking at this now and needing a reaction from his players, because that wasn't good enough. Coventry wasn't good enough. Southampton in the Cup wasn't good enough. Borough wasn't good enough. Millwall wasn't good enough. And I know that you get slightly reactionary, and you go, oh well, if it wasn't for the penalty save at Pompey, we wouldn't have won there. And if it wasn't for Kovacevic's brilliance at Blackburn, we wouldn't have won there. And we've picked up wins in vital moments of the season, but that home form has got worse. There's been no improvements at home. And I was expecting a reaction. I was expecting after that Coventry game, when we were backs against the wall and fighting for our lives, to come to Carrow Road and impress us. And I know there was a couple of injuries, but I'm not using that as an excuse at all. Norwich were poor, really poor. And I would have thought by now there would have been something where I've gone, yeah, I like the look of this, or yeah, I can see what they're trying to do there. And I can't. It's static. It's very kind of one-dimensional. I think it looks really easy to defend against. It's just really kind of stale. And I wasn't expecting that from Manning. I was expecting, with Diallo and maybe Cianats, who I had high hopes for this season. McCarmer I thought was good. I thought Liam Gibbs came on and impressed, and I think those two will be knocking on the door of the manager this week going, give me a chance, Gaffer. Kovacevic was once again really, really good. But when your goalkeeper is winning man of the match and you've conceded 3 goals, that's a real issue. That's a real issue. I'd like to hear your thoughts. I mean, it was a fairly damning response by the fans at the end there. I still think this will come good. I hope it will come good. I like Manning. I like what the summer transfer window kind of looked like. But there is pressure on Ben Napper, on Liam Manning, on these players. I think he was let down by those players yesterday. There were a couple of bad decisions from Manning. The Cordoba one I won't get my head around. I think he had an opportunity to try and change it in-game. But that complete second half collapse was pretty unforgivable. And I hope that we don't see that again this season. I'd be really keen to hear your thoughts, because it was a real kind of head scratcher for me. It was a performance I wasn't expecting. I was expecting something far better than that, and I didn't see it. So this is a tricky run. Stoke, West Brom, Ipswich, Bristol City. 4 tough games, and I'm looking at that, and I don't see a win. And if you get through that next 4 games, and you've not won a game, there will be pressure on Liam Manning. Undoubtedly, there will be pressure. There will be no niceties or room for complacement from this ownership group. Let me tell you that for nothing. If we're not performing, they've said that top 6 is the objective. They expect to get top 6. If we're a long way off that, 10 games in, there will be pressure applied. I can assure you of that. So, a bad day at the office, a really bad day at the office. We can't skirt around that. And I didn't see much positive at all, other than Makama and Liam Gibbs, who I think have both been quite good all season. So there needs to be change at Stoke. Manning, I think, will change it. The way that he was speaking about, giving players chances and not being repaid, I thought was quite illuminating. And yeah, one to forget. Norwich 2, Wrexham 3. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. We'll be back for the pod on Monday. That's going to be fun. Thanks very much for watching. And I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.